means just hard, bang, boom, hit the ball. Roger Federer's little short slice backhand, that's very
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. 1.01A, B, roll call. Nancy?
Mr. Duarte,
Present.
Dr. Jung,
Present.
Mr. Kwok, Mr. De La Torre,
Present.
Mr. Medrano,
Here.
Dr. Jimenez, Dr. Jimenez,
I see him.
Mrs. Bowie,
Here.
Dr. Fancher, Ms. Rojas,
Nancy, going to you.
Kind of variety to offense there. The rolling ball there, and then she gets the short one, steps in, and strong down the line.
Mr. Duarte.
Nancy, are you done?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
1.01 procedural matters and closed session. Review of the agenda. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Board President Duarte. For additions, we have item 5.03A, Human Resources Supplemental to Certificated Personnel Recommendations List. 5.03C, Human Resources Supplemental to Other Employee Personnel Recommendations List. 7.04A, Human Resources Supplemental to Tentative Agreement between the Board of Education and California School Employees Association, Chapter 115, effective July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2022. For deletions, 1.4 or 1.04D, closed session, and 7.07.A, student discipline matters. Please delete both items as there are no discipline matters for this evening. For corrections, there are none. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jimenez. Adoption 1.02, adoption of the agenda, including additions, deletions, corrections, and adjustments in the order of business. Is there a motion?
Kwok moves.
Motion by Mr. Kwok. Is there a second?
La Torre second.
Second by Mr. Del Torre. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Mr. Kwok,
Aye.
Dr. Jung,
Aye.
Mr. Duarte,
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 1.03, audience members who wish to speak to items listed under closed session only may address the board at this time. I believe we have Margaret Caldera wants to speak.
Anthony, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared for the other one because I looked at the agenda and I saw that closed session was after this. Can you come back to me?
So do you want to speak during your regular time to speak?
Both times, but I got it confused. I thought you were having general session right now and then closed session, opposite. I got
So
confused.
I'm sorry, this is the only time to speak to closed session. So we have closed session item.
I know, but can you call someone else if they're in closed session and then come back to me just so I can review it really quick?
Margaret, you're the only one.
Oh, I am? Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Okay, then you know what? I'm not gonna hold you guys up. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. All right, 1.04, adjourn from public meeting to closed session. Can I have a motion?
Kwok moves.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kwok, second by Dr. Chang. All in favor? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Mr. Kwok,
Yes.
Dr. Jung,
Aye.
Mr. Duarte,
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We adjourn from public meeting to closed session.
then you'll head back and do the same thing for closed session.
So no. But if I leave the meeting,
Can you minimize it? Then click on your,
okay, now do what?
go to your home. So click on the little home. Oh, it's not gonna let you do it this time. So you'll have to leave that one and go back into that one after.
I'm gonna start up again.
All right, 1.06, reconvene the public meeting. 1.07, Pledge of Allegiance. Nancy, can we unmute Danielle Tucker, please?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Duarte. If everyone could join me. You can hear me, correct?
We can, yes.
Okay, just being sure. If everyone can join me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. 1.08, report of actions taken during closed session. Moved by Mr. Kwok and seconded by Mr. Medrano to approve interim agreement with special education student OAH case number 202-0050-813. Motion carried 5-0. 1.09 roll call.
Mr. Duarte,
Present.
Dr. Jung,
Present.
Mr. Kwok,
Here.
Mr. De La Torre,
Present.
Mr. Medrano,
Here.
Dr. Jimenez,
Present.
Mrs. Bowie,
Here.
Dr. Fancher,
Here.
Ms. Rojas,
Here.
All right. 1.10, approve the minutes for the virtual regular meeting on June 25th, 2020, and virtual emergency meeting on July 15, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Buck moves.
Motion by Mr. Kwok. Do I have a second?
Medrano seconds.
Second by Mr. Medrano. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Dr. Kwok,
Yes.
Dr. Jung,
Aye.
Mr. Duarte,
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 2, reports and presentations. We'll turn it over to our superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Board President Duarte and members of the board. This evening, we have 2 items that we'd like to share with our community and the board. And the first item is a celebration of our distance learning launch. As you all know, we started school last week on Wednesday, and it's been a successful launch. There's been some areas that we're still working on, and so trying to iron everything out and ensuring that all of our students are being successful, whether it's a device they need or whether it's a computer that needs to be switched out because it doesn't have like the latest software, because I know we've gotten some new software, so we're getting that. We're also looking at some of our surveys because we continually are serving the community and we're getting additional requests for hotspots. And so we knew that was a possibility as more folks, and one of our students found out that we have hotspots to distribute. We know we receive requests. So there's that possibility as well as any other new students that we may have received in our district. So I am pleased to report that our attendance is up over 2,000 from the first date when we started a school. So currently our enrollment is 17,216, and we're monitoring the enrollment every single day to ensure that we are connecting with our students and ensuring that they are attending our schools. And so we're currently working on that. And so this evening, we do have several pictures, and if the board could just indulge us a little bit, we'd like to celebrate all of the great things that have been happening. So I'm just gonna kind of go through some of the slides and the pictures as we tell the story of our opening line. So if I can get the next slide. Here we are, we received 3,000 hotspots, and our network and computer department, network and computer services, they actually worked tirelessly around the clock 2 days in a row when we got the devices to process all of those. And it is a unique process in terms of having to make sure that they're set up correctly, turned on, batteries are working, they have the information on them. So they deployed those. All of those devices are currently at the sites. And currently we do have a request for 500 more hotspots, and that order should be coming within the next week or 2. So we're looking forward to getting those so that our students could have that connectivity. And like I said earlier, these are some of our students who requested hotspots after the initial order had gone through. So that's in the works. So if I can get the next slide. Here's our team, Ms. Bui, who's been out there, looking at our different departments on day one. Next slide, please. Here's one of our employees, Mr. Lee Collins, who I had the privilege of meeting and, working, ensuring that our folks are having their hotspots configured. And so they were on a late shift. So we got them there on the night shift there, went into the evening. Next slide. Here's our team out there. Next slide. Here's our HLP USD Police and Safety, and that was the briefing that they had on the first day. They look ready to go out and visit our schools. Next slide. Here's another one, keep calm and call NCS. And speaking of keeping calm and calling NCS, we received several calls to our NCS department, and it was, pretty much off the hook. The calls were coming in, but I also want to give a shout out and a thank you to a lot of our office manager and office teams. They were fielding many of the calls as well, because parents not only called NCS, but they also called the schools. And so we know that our schools were busy on that first day, phones were ringing, and they were answering the calls as well. Next slide. Here's again another picture of one of our techs, Mr. Albert there, preparing the hotspots. Next slide. Again, it's a very meticulous task having to go through documenting all of the student wireless hotspots. Next slide. And also our group was out there at the schools because they actually were configuring the computer that are out at the schools. And so that is something that they were working on to ensure that we're also working on ensuring that the latest configuration is on all of the devices that are out there as well. Next slide. There's another picture of our team. Next slide. And here is the help desk. So one of our employees there is there answering all the calls that were coming in. Next slide. As well as emails. And so one of the big tasks that the NCS team does is making sure that ARIES is configured. And as you all know, ARIES is our student information system. And that is also where we keep track of our student attendance. So it's very critical to ensure that that configuration occurs effectively. Next slide. Here's our team at the warehouse, making sure that our supplies are going out. And, you'll see later in some of the slides, there are materials that our team was also putting together for all the distributions that were happening across the district. Slide. Next slide. So math. So you may have heard that there was a delay in some of our math materials. And so I point this out because as I visited schools, I spent these past 2 weeks, I've been visiting different schools, and I check out also the distribution areas to see what remains to be distributed. And math was one of those that we're still getting all the distributions out there. So thank you to our students and community for your patience as these items were on back order. So we're working hard to make sure that students have these materials. Next slide. Here's just an example of some of the supplies that our students have been receiving. Next slide. All right, here's an example of our meal distribution. And so we want to make sure that our community knows our schools that have meal distribution, they're open. And if you could please, take advantage of all the meals that are being offered. And we want to make sure that our community is using this resource. So here's just an example of some of the support that's provided by our classified employees at those sites. Next slide. Here's a picture of our team. I did have the privilege of going out and meeting our team at facilities, our carpenters who work on the sneeze guards. And so as I've been visiting our schools, that's another area that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the offices to see the types of sneeze guards that are being constructed. And every carpenter I know has their own craft, and they utilize different techniques as to how they attach some of the sneeze guards on the different countertops across our schools. So it's really unique as to how each of them does it, but the work is amazing. I actually had thought most of this was being contracted out, and when I visited the team at facilities, they actually said, no, we actually do this in-house. So I commented and thanked them for their service because the craftsmanship is really top-notch. Next slide. Here's just a picture that shows our main lobby. So we added that piece there just to ensure that we're able to have a safety gate there right outside the boardroom. Next slide. Here's our transportation team that keeps ensuring that our buses are up to shape. That is one thing, just because we don't utilize buses during this time, but we want to make sure that they're still maintained, because as you all know, those of you who drive, if you don't turn on a car, you could start losing, the battery starts going off. And, I know that because I have college kids, and I always have to remind them, make sure you're turning your car on, even though you're not going many places. And so they ensure that our buses are kept up to speed and that they are ready to use whenever they are needed. Next slide. Again, here's another picture of our meal distribution. Next slide. Here's our office, or HR team, at work here at the district office. And they welcome you to the 2020 school year. Next slide. And here's a special slide. This is Miss Anna Gethera Hubert, who is our HLP USD Teacher of the Year. So she's a 5th grade teacher at Mesa Robles School. So we want to make sure we continue to congratulate her and honor her throughout the year, because this is her year. So we say congratulations to her. Next slide. And this is just an example of some of the distance learning launch that's been happening across the district. Next slide. And here's another example. I thought this was really interesting, what his students see and behind the scenes what's actually occurring. And so I just thought it was very interesting. And as I've gone to schools as well, those folks who follow me on Twitter, I've also taken pictures with the teacher's permission, of course. And I always ask if it's okay for me to take a snapshot of them in action. And, they all usually say, it's good, go ahead, take a picture of me. And there are times also when they welcome me and I say hello to the students. So it's a real treat to be able to see our students as well. Next slide. Again, this is just a welcome page for one of the classes at Sparks Middle School. And actually, this was their motivational assembly. So that was one of the other pieces of information that I learned in speaking with our principals when visiting sites, that they all did something different and unique to welcome their students. And we know under the pandemic, sites want to do different types of activities that still bring community, that still connect our students to their school, because that's very important, making sure that our students are engaged. Slide. Here's another example of one of our teachers, and this is one of our teachers who teaches science, and you see the periods there. What you see there on the right is actually an example of a Canvas page. And so there you might have heard people talk about her emoji, and in Canvas we've been doing training where they have their emoji and they have their class set up. So everything from there clips on, and we actually have the analytics. And moving forward at another board meeting, we'll share some of the analytics as to what are the logins that we have, the percentage of engagement across the district as well. Next slide. Here's first day before school. So our students also have been coming to school, using social distancing. I imagine those two are siblings, and so they're pretty closer than most folks are, but they all, I thought this was interesting because the students dressed up like if it was for school. They have their uniform on. And so, thank you to our principals and all of our classified staff that have been helping and supporting all of those distributions that occurred before school. Next slide. And this one's Ms. Robles distribution. Next slide. Again, here is a textbook deployment at Nelson. And you can see the care that our team took and putting these packets and supplies together. And, I know some of our dual immersion schools, for example, I visited Wedgeworth, and I learned that they actually supplement all of their packets with when they're providing all the textbooks, they have all the dual immersion supplies. So I was able to see some of that work that our teachers have been engaged in to ensure that our kids have access to the curriculum. Next slide. Here's an example from Bixby. And I was able also to visit Bixby School. I didn't see that particular distribution when it was all neat, but my visit to the school was really neat that I still saw planners. And I know somebody in the community had asked whether schools were still using student planners. And I know that's typically on a case-by-case basis, whether the school is using planners, but I highly support the use of planners because they teach our students great organizational skills, and it prepares them for life, because that's what you do when you go to the workforce. You know, you actually have to be organized, you have to keep a planner. So it was really great to see that our students are still using those planners. But obviously now we have a digital planner where everything could exist on the computer, but that's still another way that it does keep our students organized. Next slide. Here's our California elementary textbook deployment. I was able to visit at California, and it was pretty amazing to see just the work that's going on there. Also seeing the principal in action. And, you know, if you haven't seen some of the social media that the principal provides, she's out there on her videos, she's talking to the community, and she even dresses up, as I understand, in the school mascot, and just motivates the students all around. So it's really great to see that happening in our schools. Next slide. This is the example from Sierra Vista Middle School, their textbook deployment. Again, very, very well organized with all of the different materials. Next slide. This is at Newton, textbook deployment. So once again, thank you to all of our team that's out there deploying all of these materials. Next slide. This is Nelson's. Next slide. This is Wing Lane, and you can see there the staff there. Thank you to the team there. Next slide. And you can see some of the side. We do have some teachers working from their classrooms. As you all know, we left that as an option for the teachers to make that decision, whether they were working from home or from the classroom. And so you see some of those teachers in their classrooms. Workman High School, that's next slide. I also had the opportunity to visit at Workman High School and got a tour of the campus. And I learned that they have one of the best views of the San Gabriel Valley. I mean, you see the mountains there. It's just amazing. You see the whole valley. So it was really great to visit the site and see the team there in action. Next slide. Our adult education, as the board well knows, that our adult education courses are allowed to continue remotely, and those adult education courses that actually feed into an essential workforce area are allowed for students to actually come in and actually have their assessments done or any practicums that they are completing, as long as we are, practicing social distancing with the spaces, and we are practicing all safety protocols. Next slide. And the next one is an example of Sparks Middle School, and that's their welcome to the new school year, their motivational assembly. Next slide. Here's our Student and Family Services, Equity and Access Department. They're welcoming all of you to the new school year. And if we can go to the next slide, they actually hosted a backpack grab and go at Valley. I was able to visit as well with Dr. Fancher. Apologize for the pictures, a little blurry, but you can all see that our team was out there, and we had students, show up, and they were able to pick up their supplies that they need. Which reminds me, this Sunday, the City of Industry and in collaboration with City of La Puente and the school district, there is going to be a school supplies drive at the Expo Center to support our students. So we'll be out there on Sundays. So it's a drive to collect the materials. And so we'll let the community know which schools will, which areas will be distributing those supplies. But this particular supply really, Grab and Go, was really to support our foster youth and our homeless youth students. Next slide. Next slide, or is, okay, there we go. All right, and here's an example of our special education instructional aids designing asynchronous home kits. As you all well know, the instruction that we're providing our students is a makeup of both synchronous live interaction with the teacher and also asynchronous instruction. So this is an example of some of the kits that were prepared for our students with disabilities. If I can get the next slide. And here's an example of a meeting with students, and you can see some of the activities that they were doing. And when I visited Bixby Elementary, I was able to see some of that support being provided to our students with our special education assistant, and also with the teacher providing Zoom, providing instruction via Zoom, and also in breakout rooms. So this is just an example of that. And if I can get the next slide. So overall, I'd just like to report to the board that we're working really hard to support our teachers, and I know it takes time. It's Canvas is a new platform, but it's a platform that's been around for a long time, and it's hard at the beginning to learn it. But once our teachers learn it and master it, it's going to be something that they'll have in their toolkit and they could use. I would imagine that that'll be something that teachers will use even beyond distance learning. And even when we are able to come back under a hybrid model, it's going to be really critical because students need to be able to keep up both with in-person and also a hybrid model learning environment. So we're really excited about that. We continue to provide training, not only for our teachers, our instructional assistants, we're also providing training for them, and also parents. Parents are logging in. We had over 800 logins where parents were reviewing some of the training videos that we have out there that our Tectosas have been publishing and putting out there on YouTube. We have the information and the analytics as to how many of our parents have been logging in. So we'll continue to provide that throughout the year and really supporting our teachers. And so I want to make sure that that's really clear. We're here to support our teachers, our instructional assistants, and all of our team really that is working to ensure that our students have a successful year. I had shared with the board, I did meet with our ASB students from all of the high schools, and I will be meeting on a monthly basis with our student leadership group because I want to hear from them. I want to hear what is it that they're going through? What are their struggles? What is it that they need? And it was very interesting that the students, instead of thinking about themselves, high school students, they really were concerned about the transition grades. And so they were sharing with me, how are the transitions going from preschool to kinder? How are the transitions going from elementary to intermediate, from intermediate to high school? And so they were really concerned about the students. And in spite of all the challenges, they really said they wanted to make this the best year ever. And I told them that I agree with them. I support them 100%. And we have to do everything that we can to be behind them, to support them, because they need us now more than ever. So they have my commitment, and I know they have the commitment of the board and of our team, our employees, that we're gonna do all that we can to make sure that this year is the best ever for them, because we know times are tough. And if they're having any difficulties with any area, we want to make sure they reach out to us and call our Student and Family Services Department, for support, or anybody, or speak to their principal and reach out, because we're here to serve, we're here to help our students. And so that being said, that's kind of the celebratory part of the presentation. We also have a presentation that we want to bring to the board that is timely, that relates to the Learning Continuity Accountability Plan. Hopefully I got the acronym right. It's the same acronym as the Local Control Accountability Plan, but as CDE wants to confuse us all, they gave it the same acronym, even though the LCAP portion is not activated this year. And this is in lieu of having an LCAP. And so there are some key components that must be covered by a certain time period. So there's a whole timeline. And so we want to present this to the board, and I've asked Dr. Judy Fancher to share this update to the board. Dr. Fancher?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jimenez. And As you said, we've been calling it our mini LCAP because it has the same title, just to confuse us all. So next slide, please, Nancy. The good news is that although SB 98 came out on June 29th, the district was well on its way to having many of the components already in place because we have been planning ahead for hybrid learning and for distance learning. So you can see the timeline there of when SB 98 came out and establishes all the dates and orders at times that we have to have this report completed. And at this point, we still do have to present an LCAP later in the year, but we'll get more direction on that further down the road. Next slide, please. So here's the timeline established by the state, and you can see that the deadline to have it to the state is to LACO is September 30th. And so our timeline is that on September 10th, we will have the hearing, and then we will have the adoption approval at the second board meeting. Please continue. Next slide, please. So here are all the things that we already had underway. And so this process really for us memorializes the planning process of what we are doing to plan for in-personal instruction, distance learning, continuity of instruction, pupil participation, distance learning, staff roles and responsibility, support for pupils with unique needs, addressing learning loss, monitoring mental health, pupil engagement, school nutrition, and then continuing, increasing, or improving our services for our low-income English learners and foster youth, which we already have a lot of supports in place for that. Next slide, please. So here are all the groups that we must consult with. And again, with the forethought of the district, we already had several groups in place that we are in collaboration with, such as HLP-LMT and with our RISE committee. So we will continue to meet with these groups. Also, we can include all of the surveys that we had already completed in the spring and the summer. Again, we were thinking ahead, and all of this information is part of the consultation process. We will have to report to the board, of course, and then the superintendent, just like in the LCAP, will respond in writing to questions from parents, especially from the DAC and DLAC committees. Next slide, please. So here's a little more detail about what's been going on. We have our ongoing planning for the safe reopening of schools, our consultation with stakeholders such as HLP-LMT, our employee associations, the RISE committees, the perception and pulse surveys for staff, parents, and students, school site meetings that were held with staff, parents, and students. We have had DLAC and DAC meetings and will continue to have more. The superintendent, as he mentioned, met with ASB leaders and got their input as well. What we didn't add on this, we did actually just add, we'll be holding the student LCAP will also be meeting earlier so that they can have input onto this process as well. Then in September, we'll present the plan to the DAC and DLAC as required by law. At September 10th, we will present the plan for a public hearing and review and comment. On the 24th, it will be presented to the Board of Education for adoption. The 29th, it will go to LACO, and then December 10th, we have to come back with an adoption of the budget overview for parents. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Fancher, and thank you, board members and board president Duarte. That concludes our superintendent's update. Thank you.
Mr. President or Vice President?
Joseph, you want to pick it up? Dr. Chang?
Oh, okay. Where's Anthony?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's see. The next item is hearing now, and 4 is the communications. First one is the 4.01A employee associations. So first one is Vitural Wright, the president of the HLPDA. All right, I see him. Okay, Billy, Please, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Good evening, Board President Anthony Duarte, wherever you are out there. Vice President Joseph Chang, board
Hello.
members, Superintendent Alfonso Jimenez, Cabinet, and those listening at home. My name is Billy Joe Wright, proud president of the Hacienda La Puente Teachers Association. On behalf of our members, I want to welcome back students, guardians, and staff. The 2020-21 school year will be one for the history books. With flexibility and grace towards one another, we will get through this together. HLPTA members, your teachers, speech language pathologists, nurses, counselors, TOSAs, and more have been putting in countless hours doing our best to prepare for learning in this new world we live in. Late nights up until 1 or 2 in the morning are now common and hopefully will not last forever. As we begin the end of the second week of the 2020-21 school year and the first full week with students, let's keep these affirmations circulating on social media right now in mind and repeat them to each other as often as possible when we move forward. The best I can do is my best. How human of me to feel nervous about trying something new. I will give myself the same grace I give others. I may not be able to control this situation, but I have control over my attitude. This is only temporary. I can do difficult things. I don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. I will make mistakes, and that is okay. This will be an amazing school year where students and educators will learn together while making history in the distance learning environment. That being said, I must remind this district leadership and site administrators about the countless hours we have put in trying to prepare our remote and classroom environments for distance learning, training ourselves on new platforms, because we all admit that 3 hours in a Canvas training is just not enough. Building curriculum that meets student needs in the virtual classroom, and so much more, like trying to follow new and ever-changing directives around attendance policies. We know that this is new for everyone. So all we ask is that management pause a little more, allow space to breathe a little more, and don't keep rushing out confusing policies before they are reviewed and clearly understood. This is especially important for Mondays. Please take a couple steps back so we have the opportunity to collaborate, create and build curriculum, or participate in the trainings we need. The desire by some to control things at some sites is beginning to interfere with the spirit of our MOU. To the administrators and district leadership that do understand and have been treating us like professionals, a huge thank you. I am happy to say that we are working together to ensure our HLP labor management team is refocused, redefined, and expanded to continue meeting the needs of our district's instructional needs that certificated staff are responsible for. Thank you, Dr. Fancher, for your willingness to explore new ways to deepen the work this team does, following in the path of our sites participating in the new pedagogies for deeper learning. As a reminder to this board and Superintendent Jimenez, for us to continue as a labor management district, we must clear up our outstanding issue around HLPTA's contract. The expectation is that this is taken care of within the coming weeks, or the path forward becomes questionable and messy. HLPTA will hold this board to your word and await management under Superintendent Jimenez to either follow your directives or be insubordinate themselves. Superintendent Jimenez, upon welcoming you to the district at the beginning of July, one of HLPTA's first requests was that you meet with the community and community leaders to show the respect to them that they so rightfully deserve. We even offered to hold a forum to introduce you to them with our sister associations. I was disappointed to hear from several leaders in our community that they have not had time with you yet. Now, we all understand that time constraints matter and that we're all under them, but our community, their kids, are the reason we are here. Please find time to meet with them as soon as possible and let HLPTA know if we can assist or participate with any forum or meeting. We truly love our community and know you will too, especially the more you get to know them. We have the opportunity to bring $13 million into our school district. Is anyone willing to help? You can contact me for more information. More importantly, you can vote yes on Prop 15 to prioritize our schools and communities first this November. Let's not forget that this board and HLPTA passed resolutions in support of Prop 15 so we get the resources our students, campuses, and classrooms need. Time to do the work together to get the word out. HLP-USD Trustee Area 1 and 3 elections will be taking place this November. Candidates who filed papers should look for an email soon from HLPTA for information about how you can earn the endorsement of the teachers by participating in our endorsement process. Students' learning needs, support for Prop 15 schools and community first, the safety of all, and respect for our professional voices should be part of any candidate's core when applying. HLPTA would like to congratulate our sister union, CSEA, and the district on reaching an agreement. And we also want to again thank our classified brothers and sisters for the work that you continue to do to make this district operate. We know how tough the work has been that we've been doing, but we also respect and appreciate all of the work that you're doing. To everyone in the district, cabinet, director levels, parents, students, guardians, we're so excited for this school year, and we're proud to be your teachers, your nurses, your speech language pathologists. We're proud to be your partners. We're excited for the 2021 school year and to be part of the best district around, the Hacienda La Puente School District. Stay safe and have a good night.
Thank you very much, Baby Joe.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay. Anthony, you are here.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we get SEIU Joyce next?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Joyce.
Okay. Good evening, President Duarte, board members, Superintendent Dr. Jimenez, Cabinet, and everyone else listening out there. My name is Joyce Garcia. I'm the Chief Steward for SEIU. I would like to start by saying this has been the most challenging of opening of schools in my 30 years with this district. Not just for myself, but for everybody, teachers and other classified. But for SEIU members and of course for the, well, I'm sorry, I said that, teachers and classified, it's been overwhelming. It's been a challenge, but SEIU will continue to problem solve and will continue to work hard for the students of this district. It might be changes there might be changes daily, but we will try and resolve as much as possible. We will continue to give it all that we have for these students. Also, due to this pandemic, we have had to adjust on a daily basis, but as long as we are all transparent with each other, I know that we will get through this. I'd like to mention that SEIU met with HR and the district team regarding SEIU MOUs, and it was positive. I look forward to meeting with them next week and coming to reaching a conclusion, a mutual conclusion amongst both of us on our agreements. Also, Dr. Jimenez, thank you for having the first meeting of the year with us, SEIU, and look forward to our monthly meetings and to working together as a team. Also, to all employees of our district, I'd like to make sure that we all follow protocols and make sure we keep our social distancing, not just for yourself, but for everybody else around you. We have to be making sure that we are following these rules and try and keep each other as safe as possible and healthy for not just ourselves, but for our families. Last, I would like to also remind elections are coming up, and if any candidate would like SEIU to support them, please reach out to one of our SEIU members so we can give you the details of when the town hall meeting we will be holding it and what you need to do in the process. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Joyce. Next, we have Margaret Caldera from CSEA.
Hello, everyone. Give me a minute.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Dr. Jimenez, Cabinet, and guests.
Good evening.
CSEA welcomes students, teachers, classified staff, parents, and community to the 2021 school year. It is definitely something new, something different, and something unprecedented, but we shall face those challenges and work together to overcome them. CSEA extends a thank you to the CSEA 115 members in the Network and Computer Systems Department. These members have been working tirelessly. These members have been receiving and they have been supporting not hundreds, but thousands of calls for service, for technical issues from students, parents, and staff. There are currently vacancies in that department. There's 2 vacancies in the help desk operator and computer trainer, as well as a vacancy in the computer operations manager. I was told that there was a hiring freeze, but distance learning is not going away. In fact, it's increased the need for the professionals in the NCS department, and not only in the vacancies that need to be filled, but these need to be filled immediately, and more need to be added so that these technicians can ensure that the students and the teachers and the staff are connected, and the teachers are able to provide the distance learning that the students need. And I ask that this be looked into immediately. There's no way that 2 people in NCS, as well as there's another person, I don't want to say the name, another person that's not in that classification has been supporting. So thank you everyone in that department for working beyond what you've been normally doing. There's no way, school board, that these 3 can handle all of that. There's no way, and you need to put money in that area so that Dr. Tan can hire the staff that he needs. CSEA, as well as HLPTA, SEIU, and Cabinet comprise the RISS, RISE Committee. We participated in good faith to discuss safe reopening plans and make recommendations. However, this was not the case. We spent day after day in meetings to then find out that Cabinet was not forthcoming and transparent. Cabinet told the RISE Committee that all employees were to physically report to work on the first day of school. We worked for days on a letter that was to go out to all employees, to then discover that the only employees required to return were classified. Not only were we deceived, but it was a complete waste of time, disrespectful, when we could have been focusing on other pertinent reopening matters. At this point, it is clear that CSEA was not an equal partner at this table, and we were included just so Cabinet can produce this pretty safety pamphlet. in the pretense of including CSEA as an equal partner. CSEA supports safety and have been advocating for safety, and we will continue to advocate for safety for all in HLP-USD. However, if we are not equal partners in the RISE committee, CSEA will not be participating. CSEA stands and supports our HLPTA union brothers and sisters. We fully understand the struggles with the lack of training and technical difficulties while providing the fast and virtual learning that our students deserve. We are happy that the teachers were afforded the opportunity to work from home, providing them a safe environment, and CSEA shall continue to support teachers regardless of the district and cabinet's attempt to pit union against union. We stand with HLPTA and SEIU. CSEA members have all been directed by Jill Rojas, Assistant Superintendent of HR, to report to work in person. The district did not begin negotiating the return to work with CSEA until the Friday prior to the start of school. So we were not given the opportunity. Many of the CSEA classifications can work remotely as well. These recommendations have been made by various government health agencies as well as Governor Newsom. The recommendation is that employers should offer remote work to as many employees as they can to prevent the further spread of the dreaded COVID-19. It is a fact that distance learning model requires additional support for students and teachers. In order for classified staff to be able to give that support, we also need training and professional development, which the majority have not received. School has already started, and classified did and continue to do what we do best, and that is to work through all problems to support students and teachers. Confirmed COVID cases. There have been confirmed COVID cases at Workman High School, Facilities Yard, Los Robles, twice at the district office, twice at La Puente High School, twice at Willow Adult School, and 4 students aged 2 to 4 years old from 3 different classrooms were confirmed with COVID at Amar Children's Center within the 2 week of their reopening. Jill Rojas of HR notified all 3 unions, but only stated the day that the district was notified of the last single confirmed case. I immediately asked for further information to ensure that CSEA and all others at that site would be safe. I asked Jill the following questions, and none of those, and none of those were answered. None of those were answers, and none of the answers I was seeking violated HIPAA laws. I never once asked for an individual's identity. Jill never answered my questions, so I then submitted a public information request. So since we are in a health pandemic, which is a public interest, these are the questions I asked. The date that Amar Center and the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District became aware of each confirmed case beginning July 1st, 2020. Number 2, the dates and documents of notices provided to parents and employees for each case. Number 3, list of all the rooms affected. Number 4, identify for each case whether it's a child or an adult. None of those questions ask for a person's identity. None of those questions violate HIPAA. Yet Jill was not able to respond to my questions. Instead, what I received was a letter from one of the district's attorneys stating that the information is confidential. Time and time again, the district uses their attorneys to answer for them. I ask you, board members, why would you permit this to happen? Why would you keep this information from going out? The guidelines for schools are specific. It states that when a certain amount of students or staff are infected, the school must close for a certain amount of time and readdress safety. Instead, Jill refuses and withholds information to employees and parents. If this is happening now, with the district providing services to less than 100 students, then what do you board members and Jill think will happen once the over 16,000 students plus staff return physically to schools? I do not understand why safety is not the message and priority that HLP-USD is exercising. Jill Rojas, HR, also is requiring that classified employees sign a COVID safety form. However, that form states that there is a district policy, which is not the case. It is not true. So CSEA has advised the members not to sign this form because it is a false form. It is not proper to have the assistant superintendent of HR to require any employee to sign any form that is not true and accurate. Dr. Jimenez mentioned training for instructional aides. Yes, there was instructional aid training today. However, there has not been any training prior to today. There has not been any training offered to any other classified positions. And CSCA extends a thank you to Deidre Hurst for providing this training. And I believe she told me that there was about 137 instructional aides that attended, which is fantastic. However, this is just the beginning and there needs to be more training. In this training, we found that the instructional aides can only support the teacher if they're invited on a Zoom link. However, they do not have access to Canvas. So really, what we need to do is work together, CSEA with the teachers union, to find out what teachers need to have the instructional aides support them. And not only training, but professional development to be able to support the teacher's instruction and to be able to provide the support to the students. And all this training needs to be ongoing throughout the year, not just 1 or 2 trainings. That is definitely not going to solve the problem. We also need to have training on new software, for everyone. So thank you for the training, and we look forward to many, many more. I also would like to address some items on the agenda. One is the first reading, revised board policy 5145.3, which is item agenda 6.01.8. And this item addresses a board policy on non-discrimination and harassment. I'd like to thank the board for submitting that. Anywhere that we can address, discrimination is always a step in the positive. It's always a step in a positive direction. The next is item. Sorry. The next is item 7.02A, which is Board of Education discuss the names of applicants to serve as the Board of Education's appointee. CSEA recognizes this is your appointee. The only thing that we will say is that the person that you do appoint, they must not only understand the merit system, but they must adhere to the merit system and its rules. Oops. The next item is item 7.04A, approved to ratify tentative agreement between Board of Education and CSEA Chapter 115. I ask that you also approve this item, and I'm happy to announce that CSEA 115 chapter members ratified that with a 99%. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm glad we were finally able to get to this point. And moving forward, you know, we are negotiating our reopening of schools MOU, although school has already, it's our second week, and you know, we're still in discussion. We really need to focus on the safety aspect of it. We need to make sure that we're offering remote work to the members as soon as possible. And we really would like to settle this as soon as possible, because we are, again, working, you know, already past what has already occurred. We should be working towards the future, not always trying to catch up from the past. I'd also like to address item 7.06A, which is contract and agreement approved First Amendment for the purchase and sale of property, which is Glenalder, I believe. I do hope, you know, it's a district's decision, but I hope, or we hope, and I know it's not just CSA, but community has been very vocal, that the sale of that does not go towards the building of one new school in our district, when many, many other schools in our district, you know, need that renovation. We need new schools, but not just in one area. La Puente High School is the oldest school in this area. It was the only high school, the only school for both Hacienda Heights, City of Industry, and La Puente for years. And, you know, that needs to be addressed. That school needs to be addressed, as well as others. Also, 7.06B, which is the La Subida. So that one also, CSEA and I spoke supporting that it be used for residential and not for a park. That's before we found out that the regional park that is scheduled to be built, or possibly scheduled to be built at the landfill, that it's actually contaminated and would not support, you know, safe areas of recreation, such as baseball, soccer, football, probably be used for hiking or something like that, equestrian trails. But now that we know that this information that we were not provided to there, CSCA does not support that it be sold for housing. It should be built as a park. And closing, I would like to close with this. Schools are not comprised of teaching staff only. School is starting soon, virtually or otherwise. There are frontline heroes who keep the lights on, order the supplies, run the varied offices, provide lunches, take care of finances, maintain vehicles, are the first point of contact for the public at schools, keep the wheels turning, often behind the scenes. Without classified employees as support staff, the organization does not function. Yet, we keep up the myth of the one-room schoolhouse of the 19th century. Today, school districts are large organizations dealing with facilities management and maintenance, community involvement, transportation, repair, and nutrition services, special needs student services, health and mental health services, HR, financial guidance, college, career, and testing services. And that's just to name a few. All of these departments are support staffed and often managed by what is titled classified personnel. Let's give a shout out to all those unsung school frontline heroes and give them the support they deserve and the supplies that they need. And this was written by a person that I admire and has been in classified for over 40 years. And she says it very, very well. And I thank you, and everyone have a good evening.
All right, thank you, Margaret. We'll move on to 4.01B, audience members who filed request to speak. We'll start off with Adriana Quinones.
Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Dr. Alfonso Jimenez, district employees, and community members. My name is Adriana Quinones, a resident of Hacienda Heights and community activist. Today, I would like to bring some concerns to your attention. The first one is we have requested documentation regarding whether the surplus properties were offered to Los Angeles County for green space or community recreation centers. For conversations with former facilities director, he stated that Hacienda La Puente Unified School District did offer the surplus properties to Los Angeles County. He said they opted not to take the offer. I discussed this with County Supervisor Hunt's office, and they did not receive any offers. I asked Mark and later Annie Bui to provide us with copies of letters, emails, any supporting documentation that they sent to the County Supervisor's office. As of today, we have not received any supporting documentation. Today, I'm asking the superintendent to provide all documents under California Public Records Act. We also asked the former facilities director for a copy of the agreement between the County of Los Angeles and Hacienda La Puente Unified School District for property that has to be used for Little League before the funds from the county supervisor were to be released to Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. He at that time said no contract was drafted. Can Annie, the superintendent, tell us today if an agreement was drafted and signed where the funds from the county supervisor's office received? If so, how were they utilized? We can ask for more. We have asked for this information previously. And today, again, I'm asking under the California Public Records Act for those records to be released. Superintendent Dr. Alfonso Jimenez, do you have plans to have community meetings or attend community meetings like HHIA to get feedback from residents, parents, teachers, and other employees? If you can, would you consider having a virtual town hall meeting to introduce yourself to the community? HHIA has monthly meetings that includes representation from every elected office, CHP, Sheriff's Department. However, Hacienda La Puente Unified School District has not been represented. We are looking forward for representation from this district. Dr. Alfonso Jimenez, our community is looking forward to a new beginning. With your leadership and community, our community will again have trust in Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. The beginning is answering to the emails, letters, and phone calls from all residents, parents, employees, and students. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next is Elke Tapia.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Go ahead and begin.
First, I just want to say thank you for all the hard work the teachers and staff have been putting into providing distance learning for our kids. I really appreciate the dedication to the students. And this has been a stressful time for everyone, and it's important that we do work together to make the best of this situation. I was saddened to see how much money was actually wasted on legal fees for the CVRA for just the first 2 weeks of July. I believe it was like $80,000. I feel like the action the district took was a complete misappropriation of school funds. It was never necessary to fight the election sequencing, and I feel like this was more of a personal desire by certain board members who should really be covering the cost of those proceedings from their own pockets and not taking funding from the students in the district. I am also still waiting for some kind of action to be taken by Ms. Rojas and Dr. Fancher from a complaint that I filed 7 months ago. I'm still being harassed fully by district employees, and clearly anti-bullying and anti-harassment and retaliation policies are not being adhered to in the district. How can you expect the students in this district to abide by these same policies when your own employees do not demonstrate the same in return and you are not holding your own staff accountable for them? What kind of example are you setting for our community and the students? Lastly, I'd like to express my concern regarding attempts by special education to offer less services than what is stated for students with IEPs. There really should be no reason not to provide the services that were given prior to the school shutdowns. And if anything, many of these kids have regressed due to difficulty engaging virtually, and they should be getting more support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sue Koval.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead and begin.
Thank you. I'm very disappointed to see that you are not all at this meeting in person and on video. The community takes the time to sign into this meeting. We would appreciate visually seeing that you are present when we speak and not asleep in the bathroom or in a chair or maybe having a drink or two. We come to be heard, and we want to know and see that you're there to hear us. The delays to votes caused by these lapses makes the meeting much longer than necessary, and it is probably appreciated by the supervisor, Mr. Delatorre, who's always on the video. Mr. Duarte comes in and out, but other boards have everyone appear on the video. This would help maybe when people are commenting to be able to see the faces of the person that they're talking about. I want to say something about La Sabina and Glen Elder too. Of course, a lot of information regarding this escrow contact has not been seen by the community. And I know that this board has a history of not taking second looks when they have made a decision. But the extension of escrow for a year or two should maybe be looked at more than once. This property continues to use money for ground upkeep, taking the properties out of escrow so they could be sold if necessary for money that they need now. But even more so, maybe a portion of more than 500 students at Wedgeworth could utilize this space. Next, I want to know that Wedgeworth has been addressed to decrease student population and give them enough bathrooms provided to date. There is no reason this school should be overpopulated. Let's get immediate attention to this and not allow it to continue while waiting for a new school. Utilize what HLPUSD already has. Stop shopping. Look in your closet. Lastly, I would like to know where the money will come from again to pay for the lawyers and fees wasted on trying to keep the sequence voting to that which would have kept Mr. Kwok on the board and another area unrepresented unfairly. A judge made a ruling someone did not like. Again, who made this unreasonable decision? When was there a vote to fight this? How does this cost get accounted for during this very difficult time for schools? We just need in the community clarification when you say you don't have enough money, you want the money, and yet what day you have money for lawyers and for building schools, and yet you don't have the money for all of your teachers and help at the school and to give them the help that they need. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, Sue. Next, we have Eddie Kwan.
Hi, I'm here.
All right, go ahead, Eddie.
Thank you for letting me speak. I want to talk about being bullied. Being bullied and harassed has a ripple effect. It not only affects the person, but also affects the people around them, like family members, loved ones, friends, and coworkers. So this issue needs to be taken seriously and addressed. And I believe that more training should be provided so that this does not occur at the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Next, we have Christine Salazar.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Christine, go ahead.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Christine Salazar, and I have been a resident of Hacienda Heights, or at least of this district, for over 20 years. And there's two things one, I want to go ahead and say, I want to thank all our teachers, our district staff, everyone that has done such a wonderful job in starting our distance learning. And I know there's still a lot of frustration, not just only coming from parents, from kids, but also even including the staff, because there's there's bound to be hiccups from here to there. But from what I can see, a lot of our teachers are going above and beyond for our kids, for my kid. And I do applaud your efforts, and hopefully, we will continue getting better as the school year progresses. The second thing I wanted to talk about are the contracts and agreements in regards to La Sabita and Glen Elder. As a Wedgwood parent, I was originally told that in order to build the expansion, we would need to sell these properties, and the money for these properties would go for this new school. Now that I see that you guys are trying to extend the closure for another 2 years, it makes me wonder now that we will definitely have to finance the $52 to $70 million project for Wedgeworth. And again, when we're trying to be fiscally responsible, how does this make sense? And so I honestly do urge the community to really take a close look at the actions that have been taking place in the recent years in regards to not just only to Wedgeworth, but also the properties like La Subida and Glen Elder. I also have to go ahead and mention I was looking at the PO, and again, in just 2 weeks, legal actions, cost just for the CVRA was just at $80,000, and I can not only imagine how much is it going to be for the rest of the month, and then also do know, because you guys failed in having sequence 1 and 4, we will also have to be responsible for the legal fees of LACO and the county register. I am urging the district to be open and transparent as to the legal fees that not only we ourselves have accrued, but also to notify the community the cost of these legal actions. And just because you voted for a sequence 1 and 4 did not give you the right to continue with your efforts in writing the writ or even doing the appeal. And I think the community is seeing your actions, and we are very appalled. Again, we're trying to be fiscally responsible in the midst of COVID. It just makes me wonder what your priorities are. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tammy Jurado.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Tammy, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I just wanted to say that I'm already having some concerns on how the district and the schools will be providing for my child who has an IEP. I understand that all this is very new, and I keep hearing how we as parents and the students need to be patient with all this. But quite frankly, I think it needs to go both ways. The teachers also need to have patience with the students. No child should be failing within the first few weeks of school, especially since this is all a learning experience. We're learning how to work the system. I've had to go through multiple websites to view my child's homework and grades. or jump through multiple hoops just to see if an assignment was even submitted, because it doesn't always say that it was submitted, and they're not synced together. Aries and Canvas is not synced together. So it does make it a little bit difficult, and I'm hoping that they can fix this issue. We should really kind of try to have everything all in one place so that we can view on a daily basis. I understand Aries is going to have, its ups and downs, and Canvas will as well, but we should have everything on a daily basis where I can just open up and see. I feel that the teachers are trying to navigate the system, and I truly appreciate all their hard work and dedication. And I can see that Canvas has many amazing and useful tools that can be used, and I do look forward to the time when it can all come together and be synchronized. I do feel that it will be a useful tool for our school district. With that being said, we're already in our second week of school, and I have to say that there has been no communication with my son's case carrier. He hasn't reached out to us to see how he's doing or if he has been having any difficulties. And I do understand that we have a review on his IEP scheduled for this Friday, but it would have been nice to hear from him to help set both my sons and my anxieties at ease. So here it is, at me as a parent, how am I supposed to feel confident that the school and the district is going to do what's right for my child and provide what my child truly needs in these difficult times? And I'm truly hoping that Los Altos High School gets their act together and steps up to the plate, because last year they didn't even implement some of his IEP goals, and we were actually in school at that time. So my faith in this system right now, with being distant learning, is sadly very low. And with special education during distance learning, it really needs to take priority for this district, making sure that these children are getting the services that they need, making sure these case carriers are calling the parents or emailing the parents, or just a little heads up saying, hey, how's it going? And on a positive note, I will say that my daughter's case carrier, Miss Mitchell at Newton Middle School, has reached out multiple times, sent messages and reminders. She let me know if there was anything on any concerns I had or questions, they're there for me. And I truly do appreciate that. And I've been notified of all my daughter's services and that they're in place and whom they're in place with and when they're going to take place. So I know it's possible, because if Newton can do it, so can Los Altos. So I want to give a big shout out to Miss Mitchell and to all the staff at Newton Middle School. I've always felt valued and listened here, even though we have disagreed on many things, but I've always felt that they've listened to me. And I do feel that they're always looking out for our students. So please take into consideration our students with special needs. Make sure that they're getting what they need during this distance learning time. Shout out to all the teachers out there who are struggling, and we do appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tammy. Next, we have Karen Woman.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Karen, go ahead.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to say every board member should be signed on with video so we can see you actually listening. I appreciate Superintendent Dr. Jimenez and Mr. Delatorre for always being on. And surprisingly today, Mr. Kwok is on also. But we need to see everybody, just the same as when we're having meetings, we have to have our videos on. Next, as a resident, I'm so tired of being kept in the dark about things going on. Many asked about Temple School, and we had to find out the truth in the Tribune from the article they wrote. Shame on you, our district, for not letting the community know what is going on. We need more transparency in our community. And as the classified member, I'm upset that we were not given training prior to school starting. Many of us are not tech savvy. It's a shame that our teachers are having to give us trainings, or that they are very tech savvy and can give us training going on. But I'm still very sad that we didn't get training, because Zoom and everything is very new to many of us. Like I said, I'm very lucky to work with a great teacher in preschool. Many are still barely able to understand what's going on. And if and when mistakes are made, you then are the ones responsible for not giving us training. Also, when our work times were changed. There are steps to follow, I believe, which were not followed. Many classified have 2 jobs since many of us are only 4 hours and rely on our start and finish times to stay the same. I'm also trying to figure out why you would fight the trustee area for voting. So much money wasted, and I thought I was poor at spending money, but I'm finding out the district is poorer than me on making decisions like that. So sad. As a taxpayer, I'm not a happy resident. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Karen. All right, 5 consent items. Action blocks covers all of the items listed in consent items category. Do I have a motion?
Quack moves.
Motion by Mr. Kwok. Is there a second?
Joseph, second.
All right. Second by Dr. Chang. Are there any items to be pulled from consent calendar?
Yes, I have one. De La Torre?
Yes, Mr. Del Torre, go ahead.
5.05F.
5.05F. Okay.
Correct. That'll be all.
All right. Anything else? Any other items? All right, seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Mr. Kwok,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Duarte,
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. All right, 5.05F, approve agreement between Hacienda La Puente Unified School District and iChinese EDU to provide a web-based learning system for students at Cedar Lane Academy and Wedgeworth Elementary School from August 14th, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 for an amount not to exceed $5,328. Do you have a motion?
Quack moves.
Motion by Mr. Kwok,
De La Torre, second.
second by Mr. Torre. All right,
Yes.
discussion, go ahead, Mr. Torre.
Yes, I guess I need some clarification. I looked online to find out a little bit about iChinese EDU, and I know it's a software company. I'm trying to think of, right now with the distance learning that we're having with our dual language program. Is this just a supplemental, or is it something is going to be, because I know we have certain minutes for synchronous and asynchronous. My concern is, I know with these 2 schools, usually we're doing the 50-50 model, meaning half of the day it's taught in English and half of the day it's taught in Mandarin. And I just want to make sure that this program is not taking on the whole time that the teacher, that the Mandarin teacher, because they need to also have certain minutes for our students. So I just want to make sure that this company, and I also went into Rosetta Stone, and I know they kind of support the second language, but in focusing on this, I don't know if somebody can give me some clarification how that's going to work with our dual language program and the minutes that we have to provide our students.
Thank you, Mr. De La Torre. I'll ask Dr. Fancher to please provide an overview of the software.
Yes, thank you for your question, Mr. De La Torre. Yes, it is supplemental, as you said. As you may be aware that with traditional Chinese, with Mandarin, the materials are very limited. And so when this was recommended to us, we did provide the information to the schools to research. The teachers liked it and wished to purchase it. So as we do with all things, it is a collaborative effort. And it was a request by it was put in front of them as an option. And after they researched it, they said yes. And as far as the instructional minutes, because we are technically on the minimum state minutes, this is additional support that students can do beyond that school day. So it truly is meant to be supplemental. At our other schools, Mesa and Newton, they were also given the option, but they want to use a different online program to supplement their Chinese courses as well. But thank you, yes, it is supplemental and is not meant to replace the core content.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Fancher, every time we go through something like this, we go through our teachers in terms of collaboration before anything is actually put before the board for approval, right?
Yes, sir.
It's always vetted like this, and it always goes through this, where every party that needs to be heard on this and actually teaches this system would in fact have input and direct and highly correlative input with respect to this approval process, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion?
I think this is wonderful, and this is the first time I heard that we have invested in this kind of material for these dual immersion programs, and also like Mr. Kwok commented, this software is recommended or all agreed among all the teachers. That means they will be the one to use this material, and they like the material, and when they use it, and I think this effect will be multiple. I think this is a very, very good one. Thank you very much, Dr. Fancher.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Chung. Any further discussion?
Just real quick, I would love to be invited if it's a Zoom, or I would love to just sit in and just, I hope I get the okay from our superintendent. And like I said, I just want to see how it works, if you don't mind. Once we have it in place.
Oh, the actual the iChinese.
Yes.
Yeah, sure, we'll do that.
Yeah, like
Yep, Dr. Lin is listening, and she will put that on the list of when it's when the teachers have it up and running, that they will, certainly invite you to a session so you can see how it works.
Thank you.
Good MBM.
And you as well? All right.
Yes.
We will do that. We'll just have a party, I guess, Thank you.
It's fun.
Well, and for the board, I know Dr. Chung has participated in some of the Canvas trainings. Any of the trainings, please let the superintendent know if you want to watch it. I sat in that 3-hour Canvas training, and I see how difficult it is for our teachers, and I empathize with their struggle with that. But any training that we have, please, board members, please know that you can do that. So can we do if there's no further discussion, can we do a roll call vote?
Mr. Medrano?
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre?
Aye.
Mr. Kwok?
Yes.
Dr. Jung?
Aye.
Mr. Duarte?
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 6.01A, first reading of revised board policy 5145.3, non-discrimination harassment. Any discussion?
I have some here.
Go, Mr. Kwok.
Thank you, President Duarte. So as I see this, there's essentially just one addition here, which is one sentence. And who am I speaking with? Is this Dr. Fancher?
Yes, and also have Cynthia on backup. Yes, we'll both address it.
Okay, so as I look at this thing, it's one sentence only. And what it does from my legal trial lawyer perspective is that it establishes an affirmative duty to intervene, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, so that's the difference, is now there's an affirmative duty here. So what kind of training are we doing for our staff in order for them to be in a situation like this? I'm always very empathetic to our talented, skilled, and dedicated staff to make sure they're in a position where they can go ahead and carry out this addition to this non-discrimination harassment policy.
Well, I'm going to say that we are all required to complete training online, so that is part of it. So I actually may need to call on Jill Rojas for this, because we do complete our online training for these types of things: mandated reporting, harassment, discrimination, all of that we complete online. I don't know if Cynthia or Jill would like to, Ms. Rojas would like to add to that.
If I can, maybe perhaps on this policy, yes, that does make it our affirmative, that we do have to report and we have to act on it. If the complaint were to come to the teacher, then the responsibility or the due diligence is to ensure that the principal, the administrator knows of the situation so that then we can follow the proper procedure in terms of documentation and following our timelines so that we can do an investigation and then provide the responses within the timeline that is given. If it is something that perhaps a teacher or an administrator actually witnesses, we have our due diligence to step in and stop what is actually happening, and then we go ahead and pursue the following steps in what we've established as the process. I know Ms. Rojas can probably add to a little bit. Once it gets to us, then if it were to get to us, then we go ahead and follow the process as well. And I know Dr. Lynn is really good at doing the 10-day timeline on that and stuff.
Yeah, and as far as training go, Mr. Kwok had asked about training, and I know that we have our district-wide training, but what training and support do we also provide to our staff to make them aware of discrimination and harassment at our school sites or work sites?
So, Jill, did you want to go ahead and answer that one?
Oh, it's okay. I wasn't sure who she was asking. It's okay, go ahead.
So what Dr. Lynn and I have been discussing is making sure that we look at the timelines of what our requirements are and put it down on an easy to flow or a flow chart, like a step process, so that our administrators know what our process and our procedures are, and so that then they can as well inform our teachers so that we're all on the same page, so that we create that consistency of practice and easy to understand. What we want to make sure is that when anything comes to our lab, that we go ahead and address it and make sure that we are communicating with all parties and following up in a timely manner.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I would specifically point out that this edition is not necessarily in terms of investigation. This edition specifically addresses the issue of intervention and when it happens in real time. And I view this as extremely constructive, because you want to go ahead and do as much as you can as it's happening, which is a much better option than after it's already happened and then the harm has been inflicted. So I like that. I like that idea. I would like to see that everybody at every one of our school sites knows about this. Our parents, our students, that they know about this, because we do want to go ahead and elevate the culture that we have here. It must be engendered in that way. And another aspect of this in my private practice that I've seen that's been very, very effective is role play. You know, you role play, you kind of see this thing out there, something happens, and then you can go out there and deal with this thing. And as we work together on this with our stalwart, exemplary employees and parents and everyone here that's in our school sites, I see this as a very positive change. I see this as a potential transformative change. So if we can go ahead and do that, it'll be good for everyone involved in our school district. And that's exactly what everyone who's in our school district deserves. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kwok. Any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? All right, we'll move on. 6.02A, approve revised board policy 5113, absences and excuses. Do I have a motion?
Kwok moves.
Motion by Mr. Kwok, is there a second?
Medrano seconds.
Second by Mr. Medrano. Any discussion?
I have a quick question. In the last sentence, it refers to the board by resolution, enter in a minute. So presumably there's going to be a resolution on this. I didn't see one here, but regardless, I presume there'll be one. It actually states that it's going to have reasonable methods, quote unquote, in order to use to verify absences due to illness or quarantine. How is that going to be manifested, and where would that be promulgated? Thank you.
Dr. Fancher, are you on?
Yes, I am on. I'm reading this last line, the board shall enter into its minutes reasonable methods that, yes, we will need to bring forward to you. We do have methods for entering our illnesses. We have, and with COVID, the state has also given us direction as we had last spring and this year. So you make a very good point that we do need to bring to the board how we are dealing with attendance during this time of quarantine.
And because no trial attorney would ever ask a question they don't know the answer to, I would like to help us because it's a collaborative effort. And one place where this could be in, Dr. Fancher, you know this, would be in an AR, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. And I think that would be great because it's spelled out and it's clear and it moves forward. But again, something very constructive and positive for our school district. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Kwok. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano?
Aye.
Mr. Della Torre?
Aye.
Mr. Kwok?
Aye.
Dr. Jung?
Aye.
Mr. Duarte?
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 6.02B, approve revised board policy 5141.3, health examinations. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion, De La Torre.
Motion by Mr. Della Torre. Is there a second?
Kwok, second.
Second by Mr. Kwok. Any discussion? Any discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano?
Aye.
Mr. Della Torre?
Aye.
Mr. Kwok?
Yes.
Dr. Jung?
Aye.
Mr. Duarte?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. 6.02C, approve revised board policy 5144.1, suspension and expulsion due process. Do I have a motion?
Kwok moves.
All right, motion by Mr. Kwok. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Dr. Chung. Any discussion?
I have something, if I may.
Go ahead.
President Duarte, thank you very much. So I have several questions about this. Due process is as good a place as any to talk about this. I view this as, even though dealing with suspension and expulsion, it's more focused on expulsion. And as I look at the due process, I find the due process to be vague. Because as we all know, there's procedural due process and substantive due process. And here, I wonder about the notice, the hearing, the opportunity to be heard. I've seen other school districts that have been involved in this that have provided some information regarding At any rate, let me go back there. I just wanted to make sure that that I was clear here without any of that. So as I was talking about due process, I have seen before where I view as a best practice is even before a hearing, there is some level of communication between the school site and a parent or guardian. And then if you have to, you go through due process, which is, again, substantive and procedural. You get a notice, you have a hearing, which is the opportunity to be heard, and understanding, and the parents understanding what they can do at that point, which is to present their case. They understand that what the allegations are, and everything down to law enforcement, is there going to be law enforcement? Because I'm not a big law enforcement fan with respect to something like this, but I've seen school districts and other school sites that have had law enforcement, but there should be notice if that were to be the case. And then every time you deal with law enforcement, you might have an immigration issue. Are we going to have intervention? These are kind of like the penumbra of questions that I have regarding due process. So let's start with that one. How are we going to deal with this due process?
So, Mr. Kwok, if I understand your question correctly, again, going back to what you just helped us clarify in the one before, is that we do have ARs that are more specific. Board policies tend to be a little more broad in that as laws change and regulations change, the ARs are much more flexible in that we can change them without having to go for board approval because it needs to reflect immediately changes in law. So you will find that in our ARs. You will also find that there are very strict timelines in Ed Code about when reports have to be done, notification to the parents, the time in which the hearing is held if we're talking about an expulsion and an extension if needed. Law enforcement is always a last resort. We are fortunate to have our own school police department that can assist us, but schools tend to and should be using their administrators to do most of their research and investigation and due process, because we agree with you that the bringing in of law enforcement is the last resort as far as enforcing something. However, if there's a situation that's very serious, such as an assault or someone brings a weapon on campus or threatens to bring a weapon on campus, we absolutely must include law enforcement because safety of our staff, students, community is a top priority.
No doubt, Dr. Fancher. Whenever there's a clear and present danger, you must include law enforcement, right? If there's an imminent threat of great bodily harm or worse. No doubt about that. And you're right. That's really what I was getting to, which is the AR. And for the sake of our audience, an AR is an administrative regulation that's promulgated that supports the board bylaw. So I would like to see that. I think that's a very good thing. And Dr. Fancher, I know we did this because it's the model board policy. So I get part of it, right? So let's make sure that that's in there. And also that our parents and students, if they're involved in something like this, that it's easy for them to find. And so if this were to happen, I would like to see, as part of due processes, they're informed. Here are your rights. Here's how the process works. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what you'll be able to go ahead and present your side of the story. That part of it I like, right? And of course, that we want to work together on this. The only other point that I will say is there's a section there prior to the end when it talks about what in fact would be the basis, the proper basis for an expulsion. And this may have to be in an AR just because this is the model board bylaw from CSBA. But we should also care very much about suspension. Suspensions are just as important of an error as expulsion. And to talk about that, what are in fact the offenses that would be there? Because there are some that would require intervention, right? That requires something short of suspension. And there are some maybe that are so serious. As you know, Dr. Fancher, this is a code provision that has specific enumerated offenses that would warrant immediate suspension without intervention. So these are the type of things that when I think about how far we've come since I've been on this board, since I've had the privilege of being here to serve our community, how far we've come with respect to of how we deal with this area. And I see this as a continuation of it. And again, I always have to say again, we have youth court, we need teen court, right? And as we go through this, but thank you for the work that you go and do on this thing. This thing is exceptionally important because these are young kids. No one is perfect. We certainly weren't perfect when we were kids. Every kid's background is different. We need to provide the support as we go through this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kwok. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Mr. Kwok,
Aye.
Dr. Jung, Mr.
Dr.
Duarte,
Chung? All right, well, we can move on, Nancy. Aye for me. Motion carries 4-0. 7.01A, approve and or ratify current year expenditures and purchase orders for the period ending July 13, 2020 for the various accounting funds for Measure BB bond projects. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Martin makes a motion.
Motion by Mr.
Kwok,
Medrano.
second.
A second by Mr. Kwok. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Mr. Kwok,
Aye.
Dr. Jung,
Aye.
Mr. Duarte,
Aye, motion carries 5-0. 7.02A, discuss the names of applicants to serve as the Board of Education's appointee to the Personnel Commission for a 3-year term. Discussion.
Yes. De La Torre?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Del Torre.
I would like the position to be flown, and I know there was some dates that maybe we can have a 10-day period for application letter of interest. And I would like any community members that would like to apply for this position to submit it. Also to hold the interviews, and then just have it be open. If there's anybody else that might be interested in it. And also, if Mr. Henry Gonzalez is still interested, he's welcome to also throw his name in the hat.
Thank you.
So Henry Gonzalez, is he interested to continue, or he's not interested to continue? Do we know?
Dr. Jimenez?
Yes, it is my understanding that he is interested in continuing. And so that is something that, the board, in looking at this item, staff is looking for direction as to what is the board's purview, whether we have this be flown with an application process as indicated in the timeline that Mr. De La Torre mentioned, or if it was the board's purview to go in the direction of continuing with Mr. De La Torre, or I'm sorry, with Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, like last time we have tried to flown the position because we have never flown it before. And then at the end, we still appointed the same person because the person has done a great job. And also, I think Harry has been known in the community, and also his spouse has been working in our school districts for a long time. So they are fully aware of this the personal commission function. So last years, I think we didn't hear any complaint from any parties. And so if that's the case, I really feel that we should continue reappoint this Henry for the next terms of this personal committee.
Thank you, Judge Chung. Anyone else?
I just feel like it should be flown. If there's anybody out there, any other candidates, we shouldn't close the door. And then, just have the opportunity. There might be other personal commission, that might want to do this position. So I'm looking forward to any candidates, and I'm hoping that, we do go ahead and allow it, just like in an election, you don't just keep going with the same person. If there's somebody else, I think we should allow them the opportunity to do so.
This is not an election. This is.
I understand, but we also, if you want to make sure we have the very, very best in our district, And if there is one out there, I'm not saying that Mr. Henry Gonzalez is not, but at least allow other community members the opportunity to apply at least and be heard.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Del Torre. Anyone else have any comments? So right now we've heard from two board members. One seems like we want to keep Mr. Gonzalez. One seems like we want to fly. That's not a consensus. So we need a consensus on what to move forward with. So anyone else will speak up?
I'm in support of Mr. Gonzalez. He's an individual that has been a very, very good, caring, dedicated community member for many, many years, for decades, and has lived in our area again for that period of time. And I believe he's had 4 kids, 5 kids, something like this, that have gone through our school district. And I believe almost all of them went to the military academies. And his wife, Emma, has worked for our school district also for a significant period of time. Somebody who has shown by his own actions as well as actions of his wife and of course his kids that he is someone that is very worthy of this position, as well as being very worthy of his standing in our community. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? So I will say this, I think Mr. Gonzalez has done a good job as a personnel commissioner, but I don't see anything wrong with flying the position like Mr. Torre has requested. If in the end we pick Mr. Gonzalez to continue, he's done a good job. I see no problem with it, but I don't mind flying it. So we're kind of in a middle ground here.
I think we did it. We flew it when Henry flew it in 18, and he has done a good job. And he's really been connected with the community for a long time. But I don't see any issue for reflying it for personnel commission. And hopefully he reapplies. But I don't think that's a big deal.
All right. So it sounds like the consensus is that we will fly it. Hopefully Mr. Gonzalez reapplies for the position. But we will go with Mr. Del Torre's recommendation that we see who else in the community is interested in it. So, all right, I think Dr. Jimenez, you have the consensus on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Board President.
All right, 7.04A, approved to ratify tentative agreement between the Board of Education and California School Employees Association, Chapter 115, effective July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022, including supplemental. We have a motion.
Clock moves.
Motion by Mr. Kwok. Is there a second?
Second, De La Torre.
Second by Mr. Del Torre. Any discussion?
Yes, I'm extraordinarily pleased that we have come to this point to be able to be in a position to ratify this. And again, effusive appreciation and gratitude to everybody involved, from the school district as well as to 115, to make this happen. Thank you very much, President Duarte.
Thank you, Mr. Kwok. Any other discussion? All right, see none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano?
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre?
Aye.
Mr. Kwok?
Aye.
Dr. Zhang?
Aye.
Mr. Duarte?
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.05A, approve revisions to the 2020-2021 budget and request the county superintendent of schools to make the revisions. Do you have a motion?
Clock moves. I'll acquiesce to Mr. Medrano. I will second to Mr. Medrano's first.
All right. So a motion by Mr. Medrano, second by Mr. Kwok. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano?
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre?
Aye.
Mr. Kwok?
Yes.
Dr. Zhang?
Aye.
Duarte,
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.06A, approve First Amendment to the Agreement of Purchase and Sale by and between the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District and Lennar Homes of California, Inc. for the property located at 16234 Folger Street, Hacienda Heights, California, 91745, and authorize the superintendent to sign the necessary documents. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion by Dr. Chang. Is there a second?
Clock seconds.
Second by Mr. Kwok. Any discussion?
My question is just to authorize the superintendent for any documents that need to be filled out, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And it's to sign the extension that's requested, 2 6-month extensions as indicated on the board agenda item. So that is correct. It's to authorize the superintendent to sign the appropriate documents to grant the extension.
And does the public have authorization to look at these documents if they choose to? Of the negotiations or whatever, you know, we're dealing with Leonard Holmes.
Yes, and I don't see the board docs, the version for me to access it, but I believe these were attached, if I'm not mistaken, under one of the attachments. Yes, they are right there. I see they're being brought up there. So under board docs, the public could see the documents right there. If we can have them clicked on, you can see where the documents are at.
Dr. Jimenez, isn't it true that it's actually part of the agenda, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Mr. Kwok,
Aye.
Dr. Chang,
Aye.
Mr. Duarte,
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.06B, approve First Amendment to the Agreement of Purchase and Sale by and between the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District and Lennar Homes of California, Inc. for the property located at 15405 La Suida Drive, Hacienda Heights, California, 91745, and authorize the superintendent to sign the necessary documents. We have a motion.
Medrano makes a motion.
Motion by Mr. Medrano. Is there a second?
Clock seconds.
Second by Mr. Kwok. Any discussion? All right. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Medrano,
Aye.
Mr. De La Torre,
Aye.
Mr. Kwok,
Aye.
Dr. Chang,
Aye.
Mr. Duarte,
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 8, Board of Education comments. We'll start with Mr. Medrano.
I'll make mine brief. I just want to thank all the teachers and staff, parents for just bearing with us through this really difficult historic time with COVID. I want to thank all of our classified workers, all of our administrators and teachers for putting their heart and soul into giving our kids the best education that they can during this tough time. I really want to tip my cap to all the parents out there who are having to juggle, working full time and having to help out their students with accessing online learning, particularly. But with that, thank you for my time.
Thank you. Mr. Del Torre.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, welcome back and thank you. Thank you to our parents, our students, community members, and HLP USD family. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing with textbook distribution, meal distribution. I think it's very important that we continue, that families know that we're here for them. And I'm looking forward to the back to school nights. I know they're coming up and there will be Zoom, so I'll be Zooming by. I hope I can go into many classrooms as I can. I want to thank Equity and Access, Grab and Go, City of La Puente, City of Industry. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate your support with backpacks and getting the kids ready for their school year. The hotspots, I actually ended up ordering one. for my daughter. We did find a spot in a corner of our house that we could actually get good reception. At one point, sometimes we use 7, 8 devices, and we're all in different parts of the house, so it's very helpful. So if you do need one, contact your principal or contact the district office. I'm sure we can provide you with that support. I want to send my condolences to the Cedar Lane family. My understanding is we lost one of our family members, let's say, and my heart goes out to you. I know we recently lost also a teacher from Los Altos High School, Miss Monty, and I just want to say it's a heartfelt loss, that we feel because these are devoted teachers, and many of our students or kids had the opportunity to have them as their teachers. So I want to also, just my prayers to everybody that lost someone dearly, especially during this COVID-19, or they're sick right now. Hopefully we can find a vaccine soon and we can get back to normal, let's say. It's not the same than going visiting our schools, high school games, dances, and I know all of our students are missing that. And we're hoping that we keep hearing good news when it comes down to finding a cure for this. And I'm looking forward to normality. And please stay safe, everyone. And we're here for you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Del Torre. Mr. Kwok.
Thank you, President Duarte. I want to spread my arms out wide and thank everyone involved in the opening of our schools, from our dedicated employees to our administrators, to our district office, to everyone on that. A historic opening indeed, one that hopefully will not be repeated, but nonetheless, one that was made necessary under the circumstances. And I have had the pleasure of accompanying my daughter on her first day of high school. I even took a photo of her at the very beginning. She wondered why I did that. I told her you would know probably about 10 years why that was important. And so seeing it firsthand, very, very pleased. Also, have to very much do a shout out for our parents. I've had a number of parents contact me about this. And indeed, I had some parents ask about Canvas, that they were having some challenges. And then I reached out to Dr. Jimenez, and he was very kind to provide that information with respect to helping our parents. We must continue to do that. Like to see maybe a help desk or a hotline for them. And of course, the training for our teachers and classified are absolutely essential as we go onto that platform. And I believe it's the right platform. Why? Because we are indeed a labor management school district. And they decided to go ahead and do that. They have my complete, unequivocal, without reservation support. And we are indeed, because of that, we must live up to our creed. And I was not entirely pleased to hear about either new policies or this or that that are being rushed out, so to speak. And what we are about is not control. We are about collaboration. So let's make sure that we're showing our educators the respect they deserve as a district by clearing up any confusion about any of these things, and of course about their contract that we have already discussed as a board. This board indeed has already passed a resolution supporting Proposition 15. We should do everything that we can in order to live up to that as well, especially at a time like this where funding is critical and something that indeed I think about every day about the learning environment and what our kids are going through right now with respect to the challenges there. And I truly believe we do this, we can curtail any learning loss and be a learning gain, because I believe that much in our school district, in our labor management model. Very pleased to hear about SEIU indicating that their meeting was very, very positive with the district. So as they go forward on this, I'd like again to see them work together with our district to go ahead and do that. Hearing a comment about the board and what we do on these Zoom meetings, I would tell you that I still remember that board meeting that was over 8 hours that we were on Zoom on. So the board, I can say categorically, is very dedicated, Zoom or not. We would love to be there in person, but we are doing the best that we can, just like our kids, just like our educators, just our classified staff, in order to make sure that this is indeed the best school district here in California. I'm looking forward to next week. The California Latino School Board Association is holding a Zoom event. I am honored to be on the panel, and the topic is dismantling systemic racism in public education. So there are, I believe, 5 panelists or so, and including the president of CSBA, as well as the president of the California Latino School Board Association. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be next week. I think that we have already 200 confirmed participants. I also wanted to mention that we're going to have the college fair, and our majority leader, Ian Calderon, in the assembly, would not let anything curtail his outstanding college fair. This college fair is the very best anywhere in Southern California, and he's been doing it for a long time. Looking forward to that. Every year I talk about mastering the UC application process, and I'll do so again this year. And it's on Saturday, September the 12th from 10 to 1:30 p.m. It's going to be a virtual event. I want to thank some of my community members. We're going to make a donation of food to the district, so I'd like to thank them for that. And in honor of the really indescribable, unimpeachable, and truly heartwarming dedication of 2 teachers that have passed away recently, Ms. Monty and Ms. Peters. These are the teachers that make it go. These are part of our employees that we mourn, each and every one of them. We celebrate them when they're here. We mourn them in their passing. And I will respectfully request the President Duarte have a moment of silence at the end to honor their service and commitment to the school district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kwok. Dr. Chung.
Thank you. Yes, first things I'd like to congratulate the school district that we started the school with any delay, and also the teaching and according to the schedule, and the conduct teaching, and all the parents and the students, of course the hardworking teachers, and everything works out very smoothly. Congratulations to the school district. Everybody deserves applause. The second thing in here is of course the first day and the second day census report cannot reflect the true situation, but it is shocking to see that we are about 1,500 students short than last year. And of course, I hope that we will recover from that one. But in the event, I don't expect it. That this year's enrollment will be over than last year. And we have been, we have gone through this difficult time, and every year we try very hard and see whether we can, recruit many students. And used to be, we have the situation that we have the luxury to say, if you don't like our school district, go to other school district. And right now we don't have that luxury. And we are here is we try to serve our students rather than say, hey, if you don't like it, tough, take it or leave it. So we should try every possible way to create programs to attract more students, and hopefully we can recover our enrollment rather than try to discourage students to come to our school district. And the one thing we can say in here, like today's, we have this dual immersion program. And finally, we have done something, try to continue to improve this dual immersion program. We are the first school district started this dual immersion program, and very successfully, we attracted hundreds of the students from other district, and now we are continue to develop this program, and hopefully we can maintain or increase the students populations in our school district. And the one thing, what I'm trying to emphasize in here is this public education system. In all the school district, they try to attract more students to their district. Otherwise, they were facing the closing the school, or they were facing this layoff of teachers. And so we also should continue to work on this side. And also, when we continue to build up those programs, we must have a vision, and we must have a goal. And I hope that starting, we can start in this year. We needed to, know what our students need, what is this community need, and what is this society need, what is this country's need. And our education system, the purpose of education is try to bring up our next generation to meet those needs. And not only for them just graduate from the school, but also they can have learned a skill, so or expertise. And when they graduate from the school, and they can easily and happily to get on the job market. And as I can see right now, one thing is this: the learning skill is the language arts, and then the more language you can learn, the higher the ability of comprehension of the lectures. And so our institution has been very successful in promoting these multi-language programs, and that definitely will help students in learning. The second, in this country, we all can see in here is this technology, and we haven't really focused on this technology, or maybe we haven't, focused enough on the technology. And we can see on the job market, they're crying for these technical peoples, and we should try to focus on our curriculum such that to help the student to meet those needs. So with that one, I think this is probably is one of the wish I heard. I hope that Dr. Jimenez and your leadership can set up the goal for our school district to lead the school district, let the students know the importance of learning, and motivate all of those students so that they all can become a very useful and very powerful person in the future for this country. So like the college fair is coming, and I always have one thing in mind is, do we have any special thing for the every year's college fair? And when we invited those colleges come to here, do we have a goal so that we invited those particular, colleges, or we just invite them if they are willing to come? We just ask them to come without any special purpose, tailored those schools for our students' need. And so if we can set up a thing for this each year's college fair, then we know which school we should invite them come here to attract our students go to those colleges. So in any event, that we have a very good start this year, and I'm very happy, and I want to congratulate the school district and all the hardworking teachers, administrators, and cabinet members. You have put in everything, make this almost impossible task to be possible. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Chung. So I will respectfully disagree with you, Dr. Chung. We are actually over projections in our numbers for our school district, and that's due to the hard work of our administrators, our principals, our teachers, our classified staff. We want to thank you so much for working so hard to not only just keep our students here in our district, but to attract new students here in our district, even in this day of virtual learning. So we exceeded our numbers that we projected, and that's no easy task, but it's all thanks to the hard work that each and one of you do for our school district. So thank you so much for that. And I also want to just say, if you're a student or a parent and you're having a hard time logging into Canvas or Zoom for the class, we're here to support you. If you're a teacher and you're having a hard time logging in to Zoom or Canvas, we're here to support you. If you are a principal who's trying to navigate through this new virtual world, we are here to support you. We know this is not easy. This is not what we expected. This is not how we hope to start the 2020-2021 school year. But we know that whether you're a student, a parent, a guardian, a teacher, a classified staff member, a principal, an administrator, you guys are doing everything you can to give our students in HLP-USD the best education possible. So we want to thank you for all your hard work. And if you have a bad day, it's okay. There's going to be lots of those, but we're here to support you. And you let us know, please, how we can continue to do that as a board, as a district. We want your children to succeed. We want you as staff to succeed. We're here to support you. So please let us know how we can continue to do that. Difficult times, no one expected any of this. So please, please, please let us know how we can help and how we can continue to support you across the spectrum. I want to thank all our food service workers and all the other classified employees who are helping distribute meals to our kids. This has always been a priority for me from day number one in March when we had it first closed down. I've been volunteering for the last 2 months at the La Puerta Food Bank. If you need food, please come visit the La Puerta Food Bank. We are serving over 350 families every Tuesday at the La Puerta Food Bank. There's so much need in our community. So whether you come and pick up food there, you come pick them up at one of our school sites, please, please, please let us know what you need in our school district, and we will try to help you in any way we can. We know that there's a lot of need out in our community, and we want to support our students and our families as much as we can. So please, please let us know. I see it every Tuesday when I'm there volunteering, bending over and putting boxes and cars of food into all the trunks and cars that we can, because we just want to support our families and our community. And that's so important to me. And then lastly, we do want to end with a moment of silence for Cynthia Peters from Cedar Lane, a teacher in Cedar Lane. So if we could take a moment of silence for her. We want to keep her family and her friends in our prayers and our hearts. So We are a family here in HLP USD, so let's please take a moment of silence for Cynthia Peters. All right,